I don't really like covering news stories, but I appreciate Richard Stallman's work for the free software community. And it seems most articles like embellishing the emails with their own opinions and statements of Stallmans that have occurred in the past, whether or not they're in context. As someone that likes to examine things on my own and encourage others to do so and find their own opinions, I have decided to recite Stallman's words for the listener, at least on the two emails that have gotten in this recent controversy. I don't want to go through the entire rabbit hole of everything controversial Richard Stallman has said or done. For one, I am unfamiliar with MIT culture. I don't know a lot about his personal life. I just want to provide a non-biased view of these statements. Since the involvement of this and the John Epstein events, I feel required that I should state that pedophiles should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. They commit crimes, and if not, they should seek medical help. So I guess first for background, Marvin Minsky was an AI researcher at MIT from 1958 until his death. He was identified as having sex with a 17-year-old member of John Epstein's child trafficking ring. I don't know what Richard Stallman's relationship with the AI researcher was, but I can assume they were friends or at least colleagues due to Richard Stallman's long stay at MIT. In Richard Stallman's email that led up to his resignation from MIT and the FSF, it reads as follows. The announcement of the Friday event does an injustice to Marvin Minsky. A deceased AI pioneer, Marvin Minsky, who is accused of assaulting one of Epstein's victims. The injustice is in the word assaulting. The term sexual assault is so vague and slippery that it facilitates accusation inflation, taking claims that someone did X and leading people to think of it as Y, which is much worse than X. The accusation quoted is a clear example of inflation. The reference reports the claim that Minsky had sex with one of Epstein's harem, and then there's a link listed below. Let's presume that was true. I see no reason to disbelieve it. The word assaulting presumes that he applied force or violence in some unspecified way, but the article itself says no such thing, only that they had sex. We can imagine many scenarios, but the most plausible scenario is she presented himself to him as entirely willing, assuming she was being coerced by Epstein. He would have had every reason to tell her to conceal that from most of his associates. I've concluded from various examples of accusation inflation that it is absolutely wrong to use the term sexual assault in an accusation. Whatever conduct you want to criticize, you should describe it with a specific term that avoids moral vagueness about the nature of the criticism. So, now in my own words, I guess in layman's terms, it seems RMS is stating that he presumes it was just sexual or statutory rape. So I guess that's a fancy word of saying sex with someone that is underage. And that Minsky, in his opinion, was not knowledgeable about the rape and is upset that the connotation of sexual assault in the public mind implies violence and force when it is used to describe his colleagues. So this email was followed by an apology, which reads as follows. I want to respond to the misleading media coverage and messages I posted about Marvin Minsky's association with Jeffrey Epstein. The coverage totally mischaracterized my statements. Headlines say that I defended Epstein. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've called him a serial rapist and he deserves to be in prison. But many people now believe I defended him and other inaccurate claims, and I feel really hurt because of what they believe I said. I'm sorry for that hurt. I wish I could have prevented the misunderstanding. Although it appears hypocritical that I complain about embellishment and add a few comments at the end, I think that regardless of what your opinion on Stallman is, it is important to separate the man from his work. I personally view these messages as rather innocuous, and I find it kind of ironic that his attempt to defend his dead potential friend led him to end up ruining his own reputation. There's also a sense of obvious irony that since he is someone that feared a world without privacy, he in some way predicted one of his own controversies as a public figure. Then again, I should also state as a disclosure, this is fully focusing on this current event. I'm not familiar with MIT or its culture, and I don't really want to go down the full rabbit hole of figuring everything out over the internet. For one, I feel like it's kind of a little bit presumptuous, and second, I do not know Stallman at all, rather than just his personal work and how he's, or not his personal work, but his public work, which I do very much appreciate. So I would just ask to please make your own opinion about these events and do your own research. And even if you take issue with Stallman, I think it'd be wise to separate the man from his work, whether they are an artist or an activist. But I guess I should end this video. It's a little bit depressing.